Good Tuesday morning after the rain. Let's take a look around and see what all the rain has done or hasn't done. For one, we've got some erosion here. I'm going to have to deal with that. I'm not quite sure what to do to make sure that stays stable, but something to deal with in the next couple of days. Yeah. Looking at the garden proper, we've got more sprouts. The soil has subsided a bit. I think that's just because it got wet, and once it gets wet it kind of compacts. So things are still alive. We got leaves in the garden. Not seeing any new sprouts there, but the sprouts here are looking a bit more impressive. Especially that back row. I think I like that. I got to get the labels up and get that together. Up above, scanning across, not seeing anything, but that one seedling is still alive, thankfully. And the labels are getting dirty, but that's okay. We can manage. Up above, it looks like all the plants are still alive. And I got a couple of new ones to put into the garden. I've got some standing water on some of these that I need to deal with. Let's see, over here we really didn't have anything intentionally growing. Just some existing plants. Let's come swing around on that and see what that looks like. Ooh, nasturtium's doing well in this one. I could use that one to replace the one that's not doing so well. And then, yeah, those are the sweet potatoes. Alright, well that's that. The backyard was kind of fun yesterday. It started flooding and I had to sweep water into the pool. And then I had to release some of the water from the pool so it didn't get up too high. Because if the water goes, let's see, above the level of the skimmer, it's pretty high up there, but I'm going to leave it alone. I've also got to get back to the chemicals and checking them. Over here, we've got this nasturtium just going crazy. I don't know if this is one plant or 5 or 20 plants. I got weeds. I got to deal with this part of the garden too. So that's what all this is looking like. Here are the 2 plants that I purchased just before the rain. Let's get them up. Wow. That's heavier than I expected. It's waterlogged. But we have a poblano pepper. I don't know if you can see that. And that will ultimately replace what I was trying to do here. And this is, Mom kept saying, well, you got all the other tomatoes. What about a good beefsteak sized tomato? So that's what I picked up. So we've got both of those. I got to decide if those are going up on the 3rd level on the side yard or if they're coming over here where traditionally I have the peppers and tomatoes. So I got a bit of planning to do on that one. Oh wow, this one does not have any way to drain. I think I'll leave it as is. I know it looks a little weird, but some of that water is going to evaporate off and then we'll be left with still waterlogged but moist soil. So we're good there. See how the rest of the plants are doing. Everything seems to be okay. Not really expecting any losses here because we really didn't have. We got a couple of jasmine plants. Is it jasmine? I forget. Let's see. There's a whole story behind that, but oh, sorry, lavender. Yeah, we had bought one and it wasn't doing well, so we bought another one. And then we just kind of neglected them, but we're kind of getting back to them and maybe we'll figure out where to plant them so that we've got lavender available. Actually, we've had some interesting dishes. Lavender is edible. So yeah, the bougainvilleas are doing okay. I think we did all right. It didn't knock off all the covers for all the things that are covered, it did actually kind of clean them up, so that's a good thing. Yeah, everything's still a little bit wet. And the other thing I was going to say, we don't have really good drainage back here, so it finally occurred to me with all the drains we have in the back deck is to put a pot where I've creatively sort of cut this. I guess I can pull it out now. So I cut this on the side so water could get in, but I wanted the height so the air could get in behind it. So when it starts to flood, the problem is then all of our drains are covered in water and there's no way to get air behind the water so it doesn't drain out. Basic plumbing, you need to have a vent, you need to have air behind water in order for it to drain. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drains back here, and so I have a couple of these, one here, one over there, which takes care of getting some air behind the water. And once that happened, I was standing here and using the big broom to try and sweep water into the pool to get it down to a level where I could get the air back in behind it. Something I forget every time we get a good heavy rain, but that took care of that. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. I need to look at the pool and see what the chemical balance is and start correcting that, and then go back to actually vacuuming, and I think maybe today break down the filters. So that's pretty much the plan. That's the update on what it's all looking like. So let's get cracking. Alright, well, I don't know how much that's going to be salvageable. Uh, I know that the phone shut off at one point, and I do have some other cameras around. I used that in the last episode just because it was frustrating me. And I may use them more often. They're just the security cameras. But let's just kind of review. The filter is rebuilt and humming along. I think it quit somewhere in the middle of that. I've gone up along the wall to see if there's any oranges that fell off of this tree. None of them were salvageable. What I pulled out, this is that's what it's called, I think mineral brilliance or something. Yeah, mineral brilliance. Basically, this is a clarifier with chlorine, and since unfortunately the entire bucket got wet, somehow water got in there, it's not usable in any original sense, but what I did was I emptied the water out through the chlorinator, that little round thing that I put in the pool, and that dumped out some of the granules that were in there. And then I realized there was a lot more in there, so that cup that you just saw, that like measuring cup, I used that to scoop a little more out, and I realized I actually had more than I thought, so I put the cover back on and I'm letting it kind of dry out outside of its original container, and then maybe I can use those granules. And I didn't want to put too much, don't want the chlorine level to go up too high before I get this whole operation started. Meanwhile, when I did when I cleaned out the filter, this is the crud that was in there. It was quite a bit of it. I just wanted to save it so I could show you before I toss it out. There's some really kind of fibrous stuff in there, so I think that's why I was having so much trouble with the vacuum. It just was too clogged up to actually pull a vacuum. So that's that. Moving on over here, other stuff, and a bunch of lemons have fallen off the tree rather than toss them because they will keep for a while. I put them in the bucket, I'll wash them off, we'll squeeze them or something. Emptied out, or got rid of all the standing water on these, which is kind of a danger. Well, not all of it, not every last bit of it, there's some right there. But, got rid of most of it, the rest of it should evaporate off. And in the two smaller bins, I had gravel, and I intentionally left them open so that the rainwater would get in and help wash them off. So now I have slightly cleaner gravel and larger gravel. So I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to put this all to use. I want to save some of it. I think I'm going to need to save some of it for some project. Otherwise, it'll go on the opposite side where I've been building that out. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I've done what I can for the day. I could try and vacuum the pool, but I think I'm going to leave that. I'm going to let the pump run for a while, let it incorporate the chlorine into it and do some more filtering, and then tomorrow I can try and vacuum and check the levels again. So I think that's it for today. It's been kind of a marathon. I got to do some thinking too. So that's it for now. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Good Wednesday morning to you. I am having one of those days when I feel like I've gotten a million things done already, and I only have a million left. Without dwelling on things here. Basically, I want to get a couple more seeds in the ground and complete the upper level, so that's what we're going to do. Alright, well, hopefully that came through. There's two bags up there. One, well, let's see, I got two beans. I hope I said beans earlier, not just seeds. Beans that I'm planting. So I've got a bush bean contender. That's actually the same thing I've got right here, bush bean contender. And so it's probably about a week later that I'm planting that. Unless, actually, no, I take that back. That's that seedling there, so it's a lot more than a week later. But the other thing is the provider beans, which I planted last year, and that is a climbing bean. So I have a trellis that I've been tripping over. Wow, that's really kind of hard to show on camera. I'm hoping that's coming through. But there's that black iron thing there. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to train it up there, and so that's the bag that's underneath it would be for the climbing bean. So climbing bean and a bush bean. I was trying to figure out what to put in the last two bags. I had bought 2 plants, but I wasn't too sure, and then I asked family, and they were like, well, did you plant beans? We really want beans. So there we go. We got those 2, plus we've got this down here, and we've got the yard long up here, which hasn't popped yet, but that's okay. Everything else seems to be doing okay. Now on to washing the car. Okay, now that's done. Time to take a swing at the pool. Okay, so that went so-so. It looks like the clarifier that I put in yesterday, 2 things about it. One, it did make a lot of stuff precipitate out, so there was a bunch of stuff to vacuum up. Then I swept. When I checked the levels, it looked like the chlorine is still non-existent. I thought there was chlorine in the clarifier, but the other thing, when I opened up the chlorinator right at the end there, that little disc that floats around in the pool, it was filled with liquid, which was kind of strange. Blue liquid, which is the clarifier, but that means that somehow the little veins out of which or through which the water circulates to pick up, this is really designed more for granules or the sort of compressed pods of chlorine tablets, and I think it just somehow clogged those veins, so nothing was going through. So that's why right at the end there I just kind of dumped out the water that was in there, and hopefully what'll happen is it'll sort of clear itself. But I'm going to go ahead and add some liquid chlorine to the pool just so I can get that level to start coming up, and then we'll kind of chase it from there. But I think that may be it for today. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Good overcast Thursday morning to you. And today we're going to try and get a few more things done. I want to get to the backyard, but I also want to see how much more I can get off this tree without reducing it to nothing. So that's kind of the plan. Let's go clean up the backyard garden. Alright, well, a little bit more to do, but I got all the beds cleaned out. I've planted 3 plants. See if I can't do this. Nothing in these first 2. I've got to figure out what I'm planting where, but I had 3 plants. I had 2 plants ready to go. Let's start on that end. This is a genuine, which is a cross between a brandy wine and beefsteak. So that's just going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a darker red, kind of a brownish color, but they should be nice and big. And actually, I got to go get the tomato cage that we still have and put that on top of it now before it gets too big. I'm figuring I'm probably going to put another tomato, maybe the Roma here. I'll probably plant seeds, and I'm thinking cherry. So we're going to kind of go from large to medium to small. Over here, I've got the poblano ancho chili. That's what I tried to grow in that other pot that I've now removed. I figure I can put that pot back up on the 3rd level. I just moved the other ones around, and so I can figure out what I want to plant there. Over here, as I was going through the beds, I found what looked like a decent-ish looking cherry pick pepper. So rather than having to plant the seeds, I'm going to let this go for a week or 2 and see if it gets any bigger. But now it's kind of in a planter all by itself instead of crowded out by a bunch of others and weeds and what have you. Nothing over here, like I said, in these. I cleaned up the nasturtium quite a bit, and so I have some cuttings here. What I'm going to do is actually harvest the leaves and the flowers off of that, put them in a baggie and stick them in the fridge, and then I can enjoy them with dinner. So that takes care of that. I think the next thing is going to be to deal with more tangerines. I think that may be enough for one day. It's a little crazy and it's really bad on my back and my knee. So I got a few of the navel oranges. Not a whole lot, but something to start with. And I got a bunch of tangerines. Not as many as before, but a decent amount. So I'm gonna go squeeze a bunch of stuff, make some juice, turn it into ice cubes, and have something for the summer. With that, that's it for today. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Good late Friday morning to you. Yeah, other stuff to do, and time to get to a couple of things. I don't know if I'm going to get a whole lot done today, and we may end up wrapping up the video because I'm pretty close to a half hour at this point. But I'm looking at the front garden here, trying to figure out, we have an aloe vera plant in the back, and we're starting to work on plans for what we're going to do in the back on the terracing there for Mom's plants. And we were trying to figure out if we could put the aloe vera here, and I'm kind of looking right over here, kind of right in the center of the picture there, wondering if that's a viable location. Another option is to take these red succulents out and stick it in right here, although on balance we've got that and we've got the agave right next to it. We'll see how these agaves are doing. Yeah, I got to get some of the dead leaves off the bottom of those. I got to do some cleanup. While the bird of paradise is not doing well. Not sure what happened there. I'm going to have to try and figure that one out. Oh yeah, I've only got a sprinkler right there. I don't want to put anything too close to the sidewalk. I got another agave here, and I realized the other day that that sprinkler head right there is actually deactivated. So there's nothing happening. I thought this sprinkler over here was connected to it. Yeah, and so what's happened is something broke it. Something or someone broke it. So I got to figure out what I want to do with that. If I want to get water into this side of the bed, I could probably move this agave up, and then I could fit the aloe vera in there, or just put the aloe vera in here. Now they're both going to continue to get bigger. I've also got to leave enough room to get by at the wall here so we can maintain these pots. So a lot for me to think about. Let me do some thinking, I'll come back. Okay, so it's a bit later, and not to cop out on you, but I've got somewhat of a plan. It's just too complicated and too many steps, plus it may change in the middle for me to try and do it on this video. Bottom line, things like the snake plant, a lot of this is going away, but I mean, I've got a huge stand of it back there. I got some stuff up on the other side yard over by the street. So ultimately that's going to go along the wall, and then if there's some of it left, I'm going to end up throwing a lot of it away because a lot of it is really kind of worn out and not looking very good. This whole bed is ultimately going to turn into kind of a desert landscape or a pseudo-desert landscape kind of thing, which will match up with the work I'm trying to do here on the corner, which I got to finish at some point. And there are other things involved. Plants are going to get moved around. Rocks, big rocks, are going to get moved around. And so a lot to do. And I think I'm going to punt until the next episode. And I'm going to wrap this episode up by planting some more plants that I got, some more veggies in the backyard. So let's go take care of that. Well, that's a disappointing way to end the episode with the camera overheating yet again. But let's see. We've got some spoon tomatoes here. I would have actually lined these up with all the rest of the tomatoes, except I kind of ran out of space because I had already planted the, the poblano and the cherry pick yesterday. But what we've now added, we've got Roma here, we've got a yellow pear tomato here, get my shadow out of the way, and then we've got the usual suspects. I've got one left. I got to figure out what I'm going to put there, whether it's just going to be basil to go with everything else, or if I'm going to get another pepper. Have yet to figure that one out, but we got plants in the ground. We'll get them watered. We'll watch them grow. And with that, this is the Budget Gardener signing off, saying take care of yourself, take care of the ones around you, and may your thumb be green.